4-foot-tall petted alien thought she was too small to breed with a human until she got pregnant. The neon lights of the stellar lounge cast a soft purple glow across Derek Steele's muscular frame as he nursed his third glass of Centaurian whiskey. At 6'4", his shaved head nearly brushed the low-hanging crystalline fixtures, making him feel even more like an outsider in this alien establishment. His thick black beard, meticulously groomed despite his rugged appearance, couldn't hide the amused smirk playing at his lips as he watched the diverse crowd of species mingling in the space station's most popular night spot. "You're taking up an awful lot of space for just one drink, handsome," came a melodious voice from somewhere around his elbow. Derek looked down, way down, and found himself staring into the most striking pair of silver eyes he'd ever seen. They belonged to a petite alien woman who barely reached his waist, her pale lavender skin seeming to shimmer under the pulsing lights. Long, straight white hair cascaded freely down her back, contrasting beautifully with her revealing black attire that left little to the imagination. "Maybe I'm saving the space for interesting company," he replied, his deep voice rumbling with barely concealed interest. "Derek Steele." "Ruta Tessari," she introduced herself, gracefully sliding onto the stool next to him. The movement caused her hair to catch the light, creating an almost hypnotic effect. "And you're either the bravest or the most foolish human I've seen in this sector." "Oh." Derek raised an eyebrow, turning to face her fully. "And why's that?" "Because," Ruta said, leaning closer with a conspiratorial whisper, "you're in a Nexian pleasure den without a protection detail. Most humans wouldn't dare." Derek let out a rich laugh that drew several curious glances from nearby patrons. "I think I can handle myself." "I don't doubt that," Ruta purred, her eyes traveling appreciatively over his broad shoulders and muscled arms. "But size isn't everything in this part of the galaxy." "Funny you should mention size," Derek countered, gesturing to the dramatic height difference between them. "It doesn't seem to be stopping you from flirting with someone 3 times your height." Ruta's silvery laugh tinkled like wind chimes. "Touché, Mr. Steele. Though I should warn you, my people might be small, but we're full of surprises." "I'm counting on it," he said, signaling the bartender. "What's your poison?" "Lunar nectar, straight up," she replied, then added with a mischievous glint. "Though I should warn you, buying me a drink won't make me any taller." The bartender, a 4-armed Vexian with metallic scales, slid a glowing blue liquid across the counter. Derek watched, fascinated, as Ruta lifted the glass with surprising strength, her delicate fingers wrapping around it completely. "So what brings a human like you to the Nexian sector?" she asked, taking a slow sip that left a luminescent sheen on her lips. "Besides, apparently trying to get yourself into trouble?" Derek turned slightly on his stool, using the movement to subtly scan the room. "Would you believe me if I said I was just passing through?" "Not for a second," Ruta replied promptly. "Humans don't just pass through this far from Earth space. Especially not ones who look like they could bench press a shuttle." "Maybe I'm a tourist," he suggested, eyes twinkling with amusement. "Right, and I'm a Kraken priestess." She rolled her eyes expressively. "Come on, big guy. Level with me." Derek studied her for a long moment, weighing his options. There was something about her direct approach that he found refreshing. "I'm looking for work, the kind that requires someone who can handle themselves in difficult situations." "Mercenary?" she asked, but there was no judgment in her tone. "Independent contractor," he corrected with a wink. "Sounds more professional." "And pays better, I'd imagine." Ruta shifted closer, her knee brushing against his leg. "And as it happens, I might know of an opportunity. If you're interested, I'm listening." "Not here," she said, glancing around meaningfully. "Too many ears, some of them in places you wouldn't expect." Derek followed her gaze, noting the various species scattered throughout the lounge. Some were obvious. The Dorians with their antennae that could pick up whispers across a room, the telepaths in their isolation hoods. Others were more subtle, blending in with the crowd but undoubtedly gathering intelligence for various interested parties. "Your place or mine?" he asked, keeping his voice casual. Ruta nearly choked on her drink, silver eyes widening. My forward, aren't we?" "But I'm afraid that wouldn't work." "Because of the height difference?" Derek teased, enjoying the way her lavender skin darkened slightly. "Among other things," she said, regaining her composure. "Though I must admit, I'm Curious about how that would work. Only one way to find out, he suggested, his voice dropping to a low rumble that seemed to affect her more than she wanted to admit. You're trouble? Ruta declared, but her smile widened. Beautiful, dangerous trouble. But business before pleasure, Mr. Steele. I have a private office in the commercial district. We can discuss the opportunity there. Derek finished his drink, laying down enough credits to cover both their tabs. Lead the way, Miss Tisari. As they made their way through the crowd, Derek couldn't help but notice how other patrons reacted to their odd pairing. Some showed obvious amusement, others curiosity, and a few displayed clear disapproval. Ruta seemed oblivious to it all, moving with a grace that belied her small stature. The commercial district was a maze of neon-lit corridors and transparent tubes that offered dizzying views of space. Ruta's office turned out to be in one of the more upscale sections, with actual plant life decorating the entrance. A sign of serious wealth and space. Nice setup, Derek commented as they entered. The office was surprisingly spacious, with ceiling-to-floor windows offering a spectacular view of the nearby nebula. Business must be good. It has its moments, Ruta replied, moving behind an elegant desk that seemed sized specifically for her species. Though I'm hoping it's about to get better. She pressed a button, and a holoscreen materialized between them, displaying what appeared to be shipping manifests. I represent certain interests that require discrete transportation services, she began, her tone shifting to something more professional. Recent security measures have made traditional routes problematic. Smuggling? Derek raised an eyebrow. That's the opportunity? I prefer alternative logistics, Ruta corrected primly. And before you get any moral qualms, I assure you it's nothing illegal. Just goods that some would rather not declare to various authorities. And you need someone who can handle themselves if those authorities become curious. Precisely. Ruta manipulated the holoscreen, bringing up a star chart. The route isn't particularly dangerous, but the cargo is valuable enough that we've had issues with pirates in the past. Previous contractors proved inadequate. Dead? Reassigned to less demanding positions, she said diplomatically. The point is, we need someone with both the physical capability and the tactical awareness to ensure delivery. Someone who won't be easily intimidated. Derek leaned forward, studying the proposed route. That takes you awful close to the Crimson Nebula. A lot of raiders in that sector. Hence the need for someone of your particular qualities. Ruta's eyes traveled over him again, lingering on his arms. The pay is substantial. It would have to be, he said, straightening up to his full height. That's a 3-month round trip minimum, plus expenses. All covered, she assured him, plus a bonus for successful delivery. And what exactly would I be delivering? Ruta's expression turned mysterious. Let's just say is something that could change the balance of power in this sector. Something that certain parties would very much like to prevent from reaching its destination. Now that sounds interesting, Derek said, a slow smile spreading across his face. Though I have to ask, why me? There must be plenty of qualified contractors closer to your size. Because, Ruta said, standing and walking around the desk, I've been watching you since you arrived on the station 3 days ago. You've handled 4 separate confrontations without throwing a single punch. You've been approached by at least 2 other employers and turned them down. And you've managed to avoid being pickpocketed by some of the best thieves in the sector. Derek's eyebrows shot up. You've been having me followed? Of course, she replied matter-of-factly. I don't offer jobs to just anyone who walks into a bar looking pretty. Pretty, am I? He chuckled. Among other things, Ruta said, moving closer. Despite their height difference, there was nothing submissive about her posture. So are you interested in the job? The job? Derek pretended to consider. Or the employer? Mr. Steele, Ruta's voice took on a warning tone, though her eyes sparkled with amusement. Are you suggesting something inappropriate? Wouldn't dream of it, he said innocently, though I do have one condition before I accept. And that is? Dinner, Derek said simply. With you. To discuss the details, of course. Ruta laughed, the sound both musical and slightly wicked. You really are trouble, aren't you? You do realize any kind of personal involvement between us would be highly impractical? I like a challenge, Derek replied, his voice dropping to that rumble that seemed to affect her so much. Besides, I thought you said size doesn't matter in this part of the galaxy? I did say that, didn't I? Ruta mused, taking another step closer. She barely reached his sternum, but somehow managed to make him feel like she was looking down at him. Very well, Mr. Steele. Dinner it is. Though I should warn you, my species has some unusual customs when it comes to dining companions. I look forward to learning all about them, Derek said, grinning. And please, call me Derek. Derek, she tested the name, her accent giving it an exotic lilt. Well then, shall we seal the deal? She extended her hand, which was barely larger than his palm. Derek took it carefully, surprised by the strength in her grip. To new partnership, Ruta said, her silver eyes locked with his, and to proving that size really doesn't matter. The moment their hands touched, a subtle electric current seemed to pass between them. Derek noticed how her lavender skin seemed to pulse with an inner light, a characteristic of her species he hadn't observed before. Your skin, he remarked, still holding her hand. It's bioluminescent? Only when we experience strong emotions, Ruta admitted, quickly withdrawing her hand as her glow intensified slightly. It can be rather inconvenient at times. I find it fascinating, Derek said honestly, though I imagine it makes poker difficult. You have no idea, she laughed, some of the professional tension dissolving. It's why I never gamble at the station casino. Well, that and the fact that they use loaded dice. A soft chime interrupted them, and a holographic notification appeared above Ruta's desk. Her expression shifted to one of concern as she read it. Problem? Derek asked, instantly alert. Possibly, she said, fingers dancing over the controls. One of our security contacts just reported unusual activity near the cargo bays. Could be nothing, but in your line of work, it's rarely nothing, Derek finished. Want me to check it out? Ruta looked up at him, surprised. You haven't even officially accepted the job yet. Consider it a trial run, he shrugged. Besides, I'm curious to see what kind of cargo is worth all this security. Very well, she nodded, pressing something on her desk. A small device emerged, which she handed to him. This will give you access to the restricted areas, but be careful. If someone is trying to interfere with our operation, they won't be amateurs. Derek slipped the device into his pocket, noting how it seemed designed for hands much smaller than his. Any other warnings I should know about? Just one, Onis, Ruta said, her expression serious despite her playful tone. Don't damage the cargo. It's worth more than both our lives combined. No pressure, then, he grinned, heading for the door. He paused at the threshold, looking back at her. Rain check on dinner? Let's see if you survive the night first, she replied with a wink. Though I must admit, I'm looking forward to seeing how you handle large packages. Derek's booming laugh echoed down the corridor as he left, causing several passing aliens to jump in surprise. Ruta watched him go through her security feeds, her skin still glowing faintly. Computer, she spoke into the empty office. Run full background check on Derek Steele, priority level alpha. Processing, the AI responded. Warning, subject's records show multiple inconsistencies and probable falsified documents. I expected as much, Ruta murmured. He's too good to be just another mercenary. The question is, who does he really work for? Her skin's glow intensified as she remembered the feeling of his hand engulfing hers, the raw power she could sense beneath his controlled exterior. Whatever game he was playing, she had to admit it was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain professional detachment. Oh, you are trouble indeed, Derek Steele, she whispered to herself, watching his massive form move purposefully through the station's corridors. Let's see just how much. Derek moved silently through the dimly lit cargo bay, his massive frame somehow managing to stay in the shadows despite his size. The security pass Ruta had given him pulsed warmly against his palm, emitting a soft lavender glow reminiscent of her skin. He pushed that distracting thought aside, focusing on the task at hand. Security sweep in progress, announced an automated voice overhead. Section Delta 7 clear. The cargo bay was enormous, filled with the standard shipping containers stacked 3 high, but Derek's trained eye immediately spotted the anomaly. One container, marked with subtle geometric patterns rather than the usual corporate logos, sat slightly askew from the others. As he approached, the air around it seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from desert sand. Interesting, he murmured, reaching for the scanner concealed in his boot. The device, standard Earth intelligence issue, confirmed his suspicions. Energy signatures off the charts. What are you really shipping, Ruta? A soft scraping sound from behind had him spinning around, dropping into a defensive crouch. 3 figures emerged from behind a container, their environmental suits marking them as Crixian Raiders, notorious for their advanced tech and complete lack of mercy. "The humans alone," one of them whispered in their clicking language, not realizing Derek's neural implant could translate. "Take him quickly before the small one arrives." Derek's lips curved into a predatory smile. "Sorry, boys, but I've got dinner plans." The first Crixian rushed him, energy blade humming to life. Derek sidestepped with surprising agility for his size, using the Raiders' momentum to send them crashing into a cargo container. The impact echoed through the bay, setting off proximity alarms. "For such tiny prey, you move well," the second Raider clicked, circling cautiously. "Funny," Derek grunted. "I was about to say the same thing." He was acutely aware of the third Raider trying to flank him, their movements betrayed by the slight distortion of their cloaking field. The cargo bay's artificial gravity suddenly fluctuated, making his stomach lurch. Not a malfunction, a deliberate tactic. "Derek," Yaruda's voice came through his comm unit, tight with concern. "We're detecting multiple unauthorized entries." "What's happening down there?" "Just making new friends," he replied, ducking under a plasma burst that left a scorched hole in the container behind him. "Your cargo seems pretty popular." "Don't let them near container P7. Her voice took on an edge he hadn't heard before. "I'm sending security, but they're being delayed by—" Static cut off the rest. The first Raider was back up, coordinating with their companions to box Derek in. He backed toward the mysterious container, noting how the Raider's suits seemed to react to its energy field, their normally smooth surfaces rippling like disturbed water. "The human doesn't know what he's protecting," the lead Raider clicked. "Stand aside. Our quarrel isn't with Earth." "Lady hired me to do a job," Derek shrugged, settling into a fighting stance. "I'm funny about keeping my word." What followed was a dance of violence. Derek used his superior size and strength to keep the Raiders off balance, but their advanced tech and coordination made them dangerous opponents. A glancing blow from an energy blade left his shirt sleeve smoking, the skin beneath angry red but unbroken. The artificial gravity pulsed again, stronger this time. Derek used it to his advantage, timing his jump to coincide with the fluctuation. He sailed over the Raiders' heads, landing behind them and immediately sweeping the legs out from under the nearest one. "Security protocols breached," the station AI announced calmly. "Emergency containment initiating in 3 minutes." "Derek," Ruda's voice cut through again. "Get out of there. The containment fields will—" "Not without knowing what I'm really protecting," he growled, grappling with a Raider while keeping an eye on the container. Its shimmer had intensified, now visible even to unaugmented eyes. The sound of running feet announced the arrival of station security, their weapons trained on the melee. The Raiders scattered, their cloaking fields engaging fully. Derek used the distraction to slip closer to the container, pressing his scanner against its surface. The readings made his eyes widen. "Well, shit. Step away from the container, please." Ruta's voice, but not from the comm. She stood at the entrance to the cargo bay, her small frame somehow commanding attention, despite being dwarfed by the security team flanking her. She changed from her earlier outfit into something more practical, though no less flattering, a form-fitting environment suit that seemed to enhance rather than hide her curves. Her white hair was now pulled back in a complex braid, and her silver eyes held a mixture of emotions Derek couldn't quite read. "Interesting cargo you've got here," he said, not moving away. "Genesis-class terraforming core, highly illegal in most sectors, worth a small fortune to the right buyers." "Or the wrong one," Ruda replied, moving closer. The security team stayed back, weapons lowered but ready. "I suppose this is where you reveal you're actually Earth intelligence?" Derek raised an eyebrow. "That obvious?" "Please," she scoffed, now close enough that she had to crane her neck to meet his eyes. "Your background was too perfect. No real mercenary has such a clean record." "Says the woman smuggling restricted terraforming tech." Despite the tension, he couldn't help noticing how her suit seemed to pulse in sync with her bioluminescence. "Planning to remake a planet?" "Several, actually." Her hand reached out, barely brushing his injured arm. The touch sent an unexpected shiver through him. But not in the way you might think. The cargo bay's lights flickered, and the containment field warning repeated. They had less than a minute. "The Raiders?" Derek asked, professional instincts warring with his growing fascination with this complex woman. Gone, for now. Ruta's fingers lingered on his arm, her touch surprisingly cool against his heated skin. We should talk, somewhere more private. About the cargo, or about how your skin glows brighter when you touch me? Her lavender complexion darkened slightly, but she didn't pull away. Both. Among other things, unless you're planning to arrest me? Derek looked down at her, aware of how easy it would be to overpower her physically, and equally aware of how dangerous underestimating her would be. Let's just say my report might be delayed, pending further investigation. 30 seconds to containment, the AI announced cheerfully. My quarter, Ruta said, finally stepping back. We can discuss everything there, including why you've been watching me as much as the cargo. They made it through the security checkpoint just as the containment field snapped into place. The raiders' earlier interference had left several systems glitching, including the gravity controls. A sudden fluctuation sent Ruta stumbling. Derek caught her instinctively, his massive hands spanning her waist. Careful, he rumbled, steadying her. Wouldn't want you floating away. My hero, she said dryly, but her skin's glow betrayed her reaction to his touch. Though I'm starting to think you engineered that gravity fluctuation yourself. Would I do that? In a heartbeat. She regained her footing, but didn't immediately step away. You're dangerous, Derek Steele. More than I initially thought. Says the woman smuggling enough terraforming tech to remake an entire system? His hands were still on her waist, the size difference between them making her feel almost delicate despite her obvious strength. There's more at stake than you know. She finally moved back, though reluctantly. Come, I'll explain everything, including why this cargo is worth dying for. As they made their way to her quarters, Derek found himself increasingly intrigued by the contradictions she presented. Every movement was graceful, despite her small stature, and her obvious intelligence was matched by a wit that kept him on his toes. You're staring again, she noted, not turning around, just wondering what other surprises you're hiding. Play your cards right, she said, keying open her door, and you might find out. Though I should warn you, my species has some unique biological features that might surprise you. More than the bioluminescence? Her smile was mysterious as she gestured him inside. Much more. The question is, are you prepared to deal with the consequences of finding out? The door slid shut behind them, leaving them alone with their secrets, their attraction, and a decision that could reshape more than just their relationship. Ruta's quarters reflected her personality, elegant yet practical, with furniture scaled to her size. The ceiling-to-floor windows offered a breathtaking view of the nebula, its swirling colors casting ever-changing patterns across the room. Derek felt almost comically large in the space, like a giant in a dollhouse. He settled carefully onto what appeared to be a reinforced couch, clearly designed to accommodate larger species. Expecting company my size? He asked, quirking an eyebrow. I make it a point to be prepared for all possibilities, Ruta replied, activating a privacy field that made the windows opaque. Though I admit, you're testing the limits of my preparation. She moved to a console, her fingers dancing across the controls. A holographic display sprang to life, showing multiple planets in various stages of ecological collapse. These worlds were once thriving garden planets, she explained, her expression growing serious. Now they're dying. The consortium claims it's natural climate shift, but you know better, Derek finished, studying the data scrolling past. The terraforming core, it's not for creating new worlds, is it? It's for saving existing ones. Clever man. Ruta's approval was evident in her voice. The consortium has been secretly testing experimental mining techniques. They're destroying entire ecosystems for profit while claiming the deaths of these worlds is inevitable. She moved closer to him, her small frame radiating intensity. My people, we're connected to our environments in ways humans might find difficult to understand. These dying worlds, we can feel their pain. Some of us literally sicken and die along with them. The bioluminescence, Derek realized, it's not just emotional response, is it? It's environmental adaptation. Among other things, Ruta's skin pulsed softly as she perched on the arm of the couch, bringing them closer to eye level. My species evolved to form symbiotic bonds with our surroundings, and with, she hesitated, compatible partners. The air between them seemed to charge with unspoken possibilities. Derek found himself fascinated by the play of light beneath her skin, the way it seemed to reach toward him like Aurora Borealis seeking ground. "Define compatible," he said, his voice dropping to that low rumble that affected her so visibly. Physically, mentally, genetically, her silver eyes locked with his. "My people can adapt to merge with compatible species. It's how we've survived, how we've evolved. But it requires complete trust, complete connection. And the size difference is significant," she admitted, a hint of frustration coloring her tone, "but not necessarily prohibitive. If there's true compatibility, my biology would adjust, though it's never been attempted with a human before." Derek processed this information, his training warring with his growing attraction. "Is that why you chose me for this job? To test compatibility?" "No," Ruta said firmly. "I chose you because you're the best candidate for the mission. The attraction was unexpected, inconvenient even." "Inconvenient?" He couldn't help but grin. "And that's not very flattering." "You know what I mean," she sighed, but her skin's glow betrayed her amusement. "I'm trying to save worlds here, Derek. I can't afford distractions." "Even pleasant ones?" Her laugh was genuine, if slightly exasperated. "Especially those," she sobered quickly. "The raiders will be back. They know what we have now, and they'll bring reinforcements." "Let them come," Derek said, his protective instincts surging. "I've handled worse." "Have you?" Ruta's expression turned thoughtful. "Tell me, Agent Steele, what does Earth intelligence really want with the terraforming core?" "Originally, to prevent its use," he admitted. "These devices are restricted for a reason. They don't just reshape planets. They can destroy them if misused." "And now?" Derek studied her, weighing his options. "Now, I think I need to hear the whole story, starting with who you really are." Ruta stood, moving to a cabinet that seemed to materialize from the wall. She retrieved 2 glasses and a bottle containing an iridescent liquid. "That's quite a tale," she said, pouring the drinks. "Sure you're ready for it?" "Try me." She handed him a glass, their fingers brushing. The contact sent visible waves of light cascading across her skin. "I'm not just a businesswoman, Derek. I'm the last surviving member of the Planetary Conservation Council. The rest were eliminated when they discovered what the consortium was doing." Derek took a careful sip of his drink, finding it surprisingly pleasant, like liquid starlight with a kick. "So this is personal. Everything about this is personal?" Ruta's voice held an edge of steel beneath its musical quality, "including whatever is developing between us." "And what exactly is developing?" He set his glass down, giving her his full attention. "Something impossible," she whispered, moving to stand between his knees. Even with him seated, she was barely at his eye level. "Something dangerous." "Story of my life," Derek murmured, resisting the urge to pull her closer. "Your life may never be the same if we pursue this," she warned, though she made no move to step away. "My species' adaptations, they're permanent, irreversible. If we were to become truly compatible—" "You mean if we were to mate?" His directness made her glow brighten considerably. "Yes," she admitted. "The physiological changes would affect us both, and any offspring would be unprecedented." Derek absorbed this information, noting how she watched him for signs of rejection or disgust. Instead, he found himself increasingly intrigued. "You're telling me this now because you deserve to know what you're getting into, with both the mission and other possibilities." Her hand came to rest on his chest, tiny against his bulk. "And because I need you to understand why trust between us is crucial." The moment stretched between them, heavy with potential. Through the window, the nebula's colors seemed to pulse in sync with Ruta's bioluminescence, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that reminded Derek just how far from home he truly was. "So," he said finally, covering her hand with his own, "about that dinner you promised me." Ruta's quarters transformed as she activated hidden controls, the space rearranging itself with fluid efficiency. A dining area emerged, complete with a table that adjusted its height to accommodate their size difference. "Impressive," Derek noted, watching as automated systems delivered covered dishes. "Though I'm starting to think everything about you is—" "Flattery will get you everywhere," Ruta quipped, though her skin's glow betrayed her pleasure at the compliment. "I hope you're adventurous with food as well as missions." The meal was an education in alien cuisine, each dish selected to highlight the vast differences in their species while proving how well they could complement each other. Derek found himself fascinated by the way Ruta's tiny hands manipulated utensils that seemed to change shape at her touch. Adaptive technology, she explained, catching his interest. Like my people, it adjusts to meet the needs of the user. We believe in finding ways to make seemingly impossible things work. The double meaning wasn't lost on him. Speaking of impossible thing, he said, sampling something that tasted like stardust and honey, tell me more about these physiological changes you mentioned. Ruta's skin pulsed with bands of deeper purple. My species can attune ourselves to compatible partners. Our bodies literally adapt to match them, while maintaining our essential nature. It's how we've survived and evolved across countless worlds. And with humans, Derek leaned forward, genuinely curious. Has it ever been attempted? There are theories, she admitted, sipping a luminescent beverage. Our scientists believe humans possess particularly compatible genetic markers, but the size difference has always been considered too extreme to attempt bonding. Until now? His voice dropped to that rumble that made her glow intensify. Until you, she corrected, meeting his gaze steadily. You're different, Derek. Your genetic profile, your adaptability, your sheer life force, they're all off the charts. When you touched me earlier, I could feel the potential for compatibility. Is that why you're glowing brighter? Partly, Ruta acknowledged, her skin shimmering with complex patterns. It's also a response to emotional and physical attraction. My people can't hide our feelings as easily as humans. Derek watched the light dance beneath her skin, mesmerized. It's beautiful. You're beautiful. The compliment made her luminescence spike dramatically. Now who's being dangerous? She teased, but her voice held a tremor of something deeper. Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert from the station's security system. Multiple ships had just dropped out of hyperspace nearby, their signatures matching known consortium vessels. They're earlier than expected, Ruta frowned, pulling up tactical displays. The raiders must have contacted them immediately. Derek was already on his feet, combat instincts kicking in. How long until they dock? They won't dock, she said grimly. Standard consortium protocol is to disable the station's defenses, then send in boarding parties through the maintenance airlocks. We have maybe 20 minutes. The terraforming core? Secure for now, but we need to move it. Ruta's fingers flew over the controls, initiating emergency protocols. I have a ship standing by, but getting there won't be easy. Derek watched her work, admiring how her small frame contained such competence and power. You've planned for this. I've planned for everything, she said, then paused, looking up at him. Almost everything. You're the wild card here, Derek. Earth Intelligence Protocol would have you secure the core and prevent either side from using it. True, he admitted, but Earth Intelligence doesn't know what I know now. About the dying worlds, about the consortium's real activities, about you. Their eyes met, volumes passing unspoken between them. Ruta's skin pulsed with complex patterns that seemed to reach toward him. Derek, she said softly, if we do this, if we commit to this path, there's no going back. The physiological changes I mentioned, they begin with sustained physical contact. Even casual touch could start the process. He stepped closer, towering over her but somehow not feeling threatening. You mean if I do this? His hand cupped her cheek, nearly covering the entire side of her face. The contact sent visible waves of light cascading across her skin. Yes, she gasped, leaning into his touch. Exactly like that. The compatibility process is already beginning. Can you feel it? He could. There was a subtle vibration where their skin met, a warmth that went beyond physical heat. What happens now? Now, Ruta said, reluctantly stepping back. We save a terraforming core, stop the consortium, and try not to get killed. After that, her silver eyes sparkled with promise. We can explore just how compatible we really are. Sounds like a date, Derek grinned, already missing the contact with her skin. Though I should warn you, I tend to be a lot to handle. Funny, she smirked, retrieving what looked like advanced weapons from a hidden compartment. I was about to say the same thing. The station's alert system blared again, warning of imminent hostile action. Derek accepted the weapon Ruta handed him, noting how it adjusted its size to fit his grip. More adaptive technology? Of course. She checked her own weapon, the size difference between them particularly striking in that moment. I believe in being prepared for all possibilities, including the possibility of a human-alien relationship that defies biological norms. Ruta's skin glowed with complex patterns that suggested both amusement and arousal, especially that possibility. Now, shall we go save some planets? As they moved to face the coming threat, Derek found himself more certain than ever that he'd made the right choice. Whatever changes their growing connection might bring, whatever challenges they'd face, he knew one thing for certain. Life with Ruta would never be boring. The station shuddered as the first consortium ships began their attack, but Derek barely noticed. He was too busy watching Ruta's decisive movements, the way her small frame contained such strength and purpose. She caught him staring and winked. "Focus, Agent Steele. You can admire me later." "Promise," he rumbled, enjoying how her skin lit up in response. "Survive this," she said, her silver eyes gleaming. "And I promise you'll have plenty to admire. Up close and personal." The battle for the terraforming core was about to begin, but Derek couldn't help thinking the real adventure was just getting started. The sleek escape vessel streaked through hyperspace, its adaptive hull reflecting the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel. In the pilot's seat, Ruta's small hands danced across controls that adjusted perfectly to her size, while Derek's massive frame occupied the reinforced co-pilot's chair beside her. 3 consortium cruisers still in pursuit, Derek reported, studying the tactical display. "But we're outrunning them." "Of course we are," Ruta smirked, her skin pulsing with pride. "This ship, like everything else I own, adapts to maximize efficiency. Right now, it's optimizing itself based on both our physiologies." The mention of physiologies made her pause, silver eyes flickering to Derek. And since their hasty escape from the station, the brief moments of physical contact between them had intensified the compatibility process. Each touch left her skin glowing brighter, her body humming with potential. "You're thinking about it again," Derek rumbled, catching her glance. "The breeding compatibility question." Ruta's skin flushed a deeper shade of lavender. "It's not just the size difference," she admitted. "My species, we're very particular about genetic matches. No one's ever successfully bred with a human before. Many think it's impossible." Derek reached over, his large hand gently covering her tiny one on the control panel. The contact sent waves of luminescence cascading across her skin. "I'm starting to think impossible is just a word people use when they're afraid to try," he said softly. The ship's proximity alarm interrupted their moment, warning of a gravity distortion ahead. Ruta expertly guided them through it, her movements precise despite her racing pulse. "The terraforming core is secure in the cargo hold," she reported, trying to focus on business. "Once we reach the sanctuary system, we can begin the restoration process on the first dying world." "And us?" Derek's thumb traced circles on her wrist, making her bioluminescence dance. "What happens with this compatibility process?" "It's already happening," Ruta whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "Each touch accelerates the adaptation. My body is changing, preparing, but the size difference..." She shook her head. "Even if we're genetically compatible, the physical aspects of breeding should be impossible." "Should be?" Derek raised an eyebrow. "My people are adaptable, yes, but there are limits, or so we thought." She glanced at him sideways. "You make me question everything I thought I knew about biological constraints." The ship shuddered as a consortium energy beam grazed their shields. Ruta swore in her native tongue, the melodic language somehow making the curse sound elegant. "We need to lose them before we reach the sanctuary," she said, banking the ship hard. "Ideas?" Derek studied the star charts, his tactical training kicking in. "That nebula, the radiation would mask our signature. It would also expose us to intense evolutionary catalysts," Ruta warned. "In my current state of adaptation, the effects could be unpredictable." "More unpredictable than falling for a human 3 times your size?" Her laugh was musical, if slightly nervous. "Point taken. Nebula it is." The nebula enveloped their ship in swirling clouds of purple and gold, eerily similar to the patterns dancing across Ruta's skin. The radiation immediately began affecting their vessel's adaptive systems, causing subtle shifts in the internal environment. The ship's trying to protect us, Ruta explained, her voice soft with wonder. It's creating a cocoon of sorts, enhancing the natural adaptation process. Derek felt it too, a warmth spreading through his body, making him hyper-aware of Ruta's presence. The size difference between them seemed less significant somehow, as if their bodies were finding their own unique harmony. "You're scientists," he said, watching the play of light beneath her skin. "They never considered that humans might be able to adapt too, did they?" "No," she admitted, running a diagnostic on their pursuer's position. "They assumed only my species could change, but you're different, special." The compatibility readings are off the charts. The consortium ships fell back, unable to track them through the nebula's interference. But Ruta's attention was increasingly divided between their escape and the intense sensations coursing them through my microphony. "Derek," she whispered, her silver eyes wide, "I think the nebula is accelerating the process. My biological systems are preparing for possibilities I thought were impossible." He reached for her, his massive hand gentle against her cheek. The contact sent visible waves of energy between them, their bodies resonating on a cellular level. "Are you afraid?" he asked softly. "Of the biological implications?" "No." Her tiny hand covered his. "Of feeling this much?" "Maybe." The ship's autopilot engaged as Ruta's concentration wavered, her body responding to their proximity in ways that defied her species' known limitations. The nebula's energy seemed to pulse in sync with her bioluminescence, creating a cocoon of possibility around them. The nebula's swirling energies created an otherworldly sanctuary around their ship, time seeming to flow differently within its protective embrace. As the radiation catalyzed their biological compatibility, Ruta and Derek found themselves drawn together by forces beyond physical attraction. "The ship's sensors are detecting remarkable changes," Ruta murmured, checking the medical readouts. "My cellular structure is adapting far more rapidly than should be possible. It's as if," she paused, wonder in her voice, "as if my body knows exactly how to make this work." Derek watched the play of light beneath her skin, now forming intricate patterns he was learning to read. "And these changes? They're permanent?" "Yes," she breathed, her silver eyes meeting his. "My species only adapts this way for true genetic matches. Once the process begins, there's no going back, though I never imagined it could happen with a human." The ship's environmental systems hummed softly, maintaining their protective bubble as the nebula's energy continued its catalytic work. Their bodies resonated on a quantum level, breaking down barriers that should have made their connection impossible. "The consortium ships are regrouping," Derek noted, checking the tactical display. "They'll find a way to track us eventually." "Let them try," Ruta said with unexpected fierceness. "They've destroyed enough worlds, enough possibilities. They don't get to stop this one." Her determination made her glow brighter, and Derek felt his own body responding to her proximity in ways that defied conventional biology. The size difference between them seemed increasingly irrelevant as their physiologies found their own unique harmony. That night, as the nebula's energies peaked around them, Ruta and Derek discovered just how perfectly their bodies could adapt to each other. Their connection transcended physical limitations, guided by an ancient biological wisdom that knew no boundaries of size or species. Several weeks later, the Sanctuary System's primary star painted stripes of gold across Ruta's medical bay as she stared at the bioscan results in amazement. Her hand trembled slightly as she ran the test a third time. "Impossible," she whispered, but her skin's radiant glow betrayed her joy. The adaptation was more complete than anyone could have imagined. The door slid open, admitting Derek's towering frame. Fresh from repelling another consortium probe of their defenses, he still carried himself with the alert grace of a warrior, but his expression softened immediately upon seeing her. "What's impossible?" he asked, noting her luminescent patterns that spoke of profound emotion. "Remember how I said no human had ever successfully bred with my species?" Ruta's voice quivered with suppressed excitement. "Well, it seems impossible is just a word after all." Derek went completely still, his tactical mind processing the implications. "You mean—" "We're going to have a child," she confirmed, her tiny frame practically blazing with light. "My body didn't just adapt for compatibility, it adapted for creation. The nebula's catalyst must have—" Her words were cut off as Derek crossed the room in 2 strides, gathering her gently in his massive arms. The size difference between them now seemed like a testament to their triumph over biological barriers rather than an obstacle. "Are you sure it's safe?" he asked, his protective instincts surging. "The scans show perfect genetic integration," she assured him, pressing her small hand against his chest. "Our child will be the first of their kind, a perfect blend of both species' strengths." Their moment of joy was interrupted by the sanctuary's alert system. The consortium had launched a full-scale assault, determined to recover the terraforming core and eliminate the evidence of their ecological crimes. "Perfect timing," Derek growled, but Ruta's laugh surprised him. "Actually, it is," she said, pulling up tactical displays. "The adaptation process has enhanced more than just our breeding compatibility. Watch." She interfaced with the Sanctuary's defense systems, her bioluminescence synchronizing with the quantum computers in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The resulting counterattack scattered the consortium fleet, their ship's adaptive technology turning against them. "How did you—" Derek stared in amazement. "The same way I adapted to you," Ruta explained, her silver eyes sparkling. "My species doesn't just adapt biologically, we adapt on every level. The consortium never understood that. They thought they could control evolution, but true adaptation comes from connection, from possibility." "From love?" Derek suggested softly. "Exactly." Her skin pulsed with joy at the word. They never stood a chance against that. 9 months later, the birthing chamber in the Sanctuary's medical facility hummed with adaptive technology, adjusting itself to support both mother and child. Ruta's small frame glowed with unprecedented patterns as she brought their son into the universe, a perfect fusion of human strength and alien adaptability. "He's beautiful," Derek breathed, watching in awe as their child's skin shifted between his mother's lavender tones and his father's darker hue. Already, the boy showed signs of inheriting both species' best traits. "And completely healthy," the medical AI confirmed. "His genetic structure is remarkably stable, incorporating the strongest aspects of both lineages." Ruta cradled their son, her silver eyes meeting Derek's with triumph. "So much for impossible," she teased. "I never doubted you," he replied, his massive hand gentle as he touched their child's cheek. "Either of you." Outside the Sanctuary's protective shields, the first of the dying worlds was beginning to heal, the terraforming core working in harmony with natural processes rather than against them. Like their child, it represented a new kind of evolution, one based on connection rather than conquest. "What shall we call him?" Ruta asked, watching their son's skin glow in response to their touch. "How about Hope?" Derek suggested. "Since he represents so many impossible things becoming possible." Ruta's luminescence brightened in approval. "Perfect. Though I think he's going to take after you in size. My adaptation seems to have adjusted for that too." "Poor kid," Derek chuckled. "He'll never hear the end of it from either species." "He'll be fine," Ruta said confidently. "After all, his very existence proves that the universe's greatest miracles come from daring to challenge what everyone else thinks is impossible." As if in agreement, their son's skin glowed with patterns that combined both his parents' traits, creating something entirely new and wonderful. Outside, the healed planet shone like a beacon of possibility, while inside, a family that should never have been possible proved that love truly could overcome any barrier, even those of biology itself.